All right, stepping into a world where electricity meets some serious heavy machinery. We're talking about a mining electrician interview. And we've got all those resources from RoleCatcher to help you out. This deep dive is going to be like having a well-seasoned miner, kind of whispering those secrets in your ear. Not just telling you what to say, but why it's going to matter to those hiring managers. We'll uncover what a mining electrician actually does day to day. Then we'll tackle those interview questions so you're ready.
What I find so captivating about this role, it really goes way beyond your typical electrician's work. Think massive drills, huge ventilation systems, those intricate conveyor belts, all powered by systems that you would be responsible for. You're ensuring the mine's heart keeps beating.
It's like being the electrical guardian of this whole underground city, right? Keeping those lights on. Not just about productivity down there. It's about safety in a really demanding environment. So let's jump into the interview prep. RoleCatcher has a ton of sample questions. But they've also got this AI assist feature. It analyzes your practice responses and gives you this tailored feedback.
That AI, it's like having a personalized coach right there in your corner, helping you fine-tune your answers to match those specific job descriptions, highlighting the key words that make your resume actually stand out, speaking the language that those recruiters are looking for.
Okay, let's unpack some of those tougher questions. First up, a classic. What motivated you to pursue a career as a mining electrician?
Now, it might seem straightforward, but this is your big chance to spark that connection with the interviewer. They want to see your passion, not just someone clocking in and out for a paycheck. So think back to what ignited that spark in you. Was it the machinery, the problem-solving challenge, maybe even a family member who kind of inspired you? This is your story, your origin story as an electrician.
So it's got to be more than just the good pay, even though, let's be honest, that is a major plus. The career guide does highlight that high earning potential and job security. Mining electricians are in high demand.
That's true. But it's also important to acknowledge the other side of the coin. The job can be pretty demanding physically, often in challenging conditions, potentially long hours. So you got to show them you're ready to roll up your sleeves and tackle those challenges head on.
Okay, next question. What experience do you have working with electrical systems in mining operations? Time to shine a light on your expertise here.
Absolutely. So instead of just listing jobs, showcase specific experiences that resonate with that mining world. Have you worked with any specialized equipment? Do you have any certifications or training in areas like high voltage systems or even PLC programming? These details show them that you've actually invested in honing your skills for this field.
And what if you're just starting out and you don't have that direct mining experience yet?
Well, that's where those transferable skills really come in. Highlight any electrical work, from internships, volunteer projects, even those personal projects that you might have. Anything that demonstrates that passion and willingness to learn. Show them you're eager to jump into the world of mining and contribute. They might even follow up with something like, what's the most challenging electrical project you've worked on, even if it's not in a mining environment?
That's a great point. It's about showing them you can handle those complex situations, no matter the setting, really. Be ready with a captivating example. That shows off your problem-solving skills. Walk them through those obstacles, how you tackled them. And then, the outcome. This is where you really prove that expertise. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be your secret weapon. You can practice your answer. Get feedback on how clearly and concisely you're explaining that situation.
It's all about refining your delivery so you can really impress those interviewers. Now let's amp up the voltage a bit with this next question. Give an example of a complex electrical problem you solved in a mining operation. This one's designed to see how you think on your feet under pressure.
It's like a real-life electrical puzzle, right? How do you approach this without short-circuiting?
Think of it as telling a detective story. Walk them through your process, step by step. How did you diagnose the issue? What tools or techniques did you end up using? And of course, what was the outcome? The key is to showcase those analytical skills and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
And don't forget to highlight those key skills we talked about earlier. Did you prioritize safety throughout the process? Did you need to collaborate with others to find that solution? Weaving those elements into your story really demonstrates you understand that bigger picture.
Yeah, if we connect this to the overall goal, the interviewer wants to see that you can handle the pressure, you can think critically, and work effectively in challenging conditions. I mean, these are all essential qualities for any successful mining electrician.
Now on to a question that's super crucial. How do you ensure safety when working with high-voltage electrical systems in a mining operation.
Mhm.
This is where you show that safety is not just a word. It's ingrained in everything you do.
This is your time to show that you're not just knowledgeable, but that you're responsible. So mention specific protocols like lockout tagout procedures, grounding techniques, and the importance of that personal protective equipment, or PPE. It's not about just rattling off a list, though. Give them real-life examples of how you've applied these protocols and how they've prevented potential
Yeah,
accidents.
it's about showing them. You don't just know the rules. You live by them. It's like you have that built-in safety radar.
Yeah.
That's always on, right?
Exactly. A potential follow-up question that they could ask, something like, what steps would you take if you noticed a colleague not following safety regulations? This is about leadership and accountability. They want to see that you're not afraid to speak up and make sure everyone is working safely.
Okay, next up, describe your experience with programmable logic controllers, or PLCs, in a mining operation. Now, this is where your technical expertise takes center stage.
Yeah, PLCs are like the brains behind a lot of the automated systems in mining. So be specific about the types of PLCs you've worked with, the programming languages you know, and any relevant certifications you hold. This shows them you're not just familiar with PLCs, but you can speak their language, so to speak.
And if you're still building that PLC experience,
Honesty is always key. Acknowledge your skill level, but emphasize your eagerness to learn. You could mention online courses you've taken, training programs, or even personal projects. Anything that demonstrates your initiative and that commitment to professional development.
yeah, it's about showing them you're not just willing to learn. You're actively searching out those opportunities to expand that knowledge. Okay, time for 2 more questions in this segment. How do you stay up to date with the latest developments and technologies in the mining industry? It's all about showing you're a lifelong learner, right?
Precisely. Think about industry publications that you might read, conferences you've attended, online forums you participate in, anything that shows you're actively engaged in that evolving world of mining technology.
The career guide even suggests joining professional organizations related to mining and electrical engineering. It's a great way to network and stay on top of things.
And don't forget to mention specific technologies that you're excited about, things like automation or even those renewable energy applications in mining. This shows you're not just keeping up, you're looking ahead to the future of the industry.
All right, last question for this part. How do you approach working collaboratively with other departments in a mining operation?
This is about teamwork. Understanding that bigger picture. Yeah, mining is this incredibly complex operation, and electricians don't work in isolation. They're collaborating with engineers, mechanics, safety personnel, and so many others. So the interviewer wants to see that you can communicate effectively, you can build relationships, and you can contribute to that shared goal.
Think of those specific examples where you've collaborated effectively in the past. Maybe you helped resolve a conflict between departments, or you streamlined a process to improve efficiency. These examples show your teamwork skills in action.
What's important here is showcasing your ability to bridge that gap between the technical expertise and those interpersonal skills. Remember, a mine is only as strong as its weakest link, and effective teamwork is what keeps everything running smoothly and safely. We've covered a lot of ground here, but there's still more to come.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll tackle even more challenging questions and give you the tools to ace that mining electrician interview.
Welcome back to our deep dive into those mining electrician interviews. Let's continue our journey toward helping you ace that interview.
We're ready to delve deeper into those challenging questions. And speaking of teamwork, this next one really puts those skills to the test. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision related to electrical systems in a mining operation.
This one really dives into your decision-making process under pressure. They want to see your critical thinking, your problem-solving skills, and those leadership qualities in action.
So what kind of situation would make a good example here?
Think about a time when safety, productivity, maybe even budget constraints were all kind of factors in your decision. Did you ever have to make a judgment call about, shutting down a system for repairs, even if it meant impacting production?
Or maybe a time you had to disagree with, like the supervisor or a colleague, about the best way to handle something. Those situations can be so tricky.
Exactly. Walk them through your thought process. What factors did you consider? Who did you consult with? How did you communicate that decision? And of course, what was the result? They want to see that you can take ownership, weigh the risks and benefits, and make a clear decision, even when it's tough.
It's about showing them you can handle the heat and make those tough calls when it really matters. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful here. You can practice your response to this question, and the AI will analyze it for, clarity, conciseness, and relevance to the job description.
It's like having that personalized feedback loop, helping you refine that answer and boost your confidence going into the interview.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit to a question about organization and time management. How do you prioritize and manage your workload as a mining electrician?
Yeah.
It's all about keeping those circuits from overloading.
Mining operations, they're fast-paced, demanding, you've got multiple tasks all vying for your attention. You need to show the interviewer that you can handle that pressure, meet those deadlines, and stay organized.
So what strategies would really impress the interviewer here?
Well, think about those tools and techniques you use to stay on top of things. Do you use to-do lists, calendars, any project management software? Mention those techniques like time blocking or the Pomodoro technique if you use those. It's about showcasing that organizational prowess.
And don't forget about delegation and communication, being able to delegate tasks effectively. And keep your team informed. Shows you understand how important it is to work together efficiently.
Yeah, they might even ask a follow-up question like, describe a time when you had to juggle multiple priorities. How did you handle it? Be ready with a captivating example that highlights your ability to, stay focused and productive, even when things get a little chaotic.
And if you're using RoleCatcher's AI for practice, pay attention to the feedback on your pacing and clarity. The interviewer needs to understand your process, so, speak clearly, concisely, highlighting those key steps you take to manage your workload like a pro.
It's about making sure those organizational skills really shine through in your answer. Now let's talk about one of the most exciting aspects of this field, technology. The mining industry is evolving so rapidly, and mining electricians need to be tech-savvy and adaptable to really stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. The career guide even mentions how automation and digitalization are transforming that whole mining landscape. So how do you demonstrate that you're, tech-savvy and ready to embrace those advancements in the interview?
Mention specific technologies you're familiar with, like PLC programming, SCADA systems, those monitor and control industrial processes, or even robotics. If you have experience with these, definitely showcase it. But don't worry if you haven't mastered all the latest tech just yet.
Well, if you're still learning about these advancements.
Express your enthusiasm for learning and your willingness to adapt. Talk about online courses you've taken, certifications you're pursuing, even those industry publications you read to stay informed. It's about showing them you have that growth mindset and you're eager to embrace the future of mining technology.
It's like having that thirst for knowledge, especially in a field that's constantly evolving. Now, let's tackle a question that can be a bit tricky. What are your salary expectations for this role? Nobody wants to undersell themselves.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to price yourself out of the running.
Right. The key here is to do your research beforehand. Websites like Glassdoor or Indeed can give you a pretty good idea of the average salary range for mining electricians in your area. So factor in your experience level, certifications, specialized skills to determine a fair range.
And RoleCatcher's AI can be a real game changer here too.
Oh, absolutely. You can input the job description and your desired salary range, and that AI will analyze how competitive your expectations are for that specific role. It can give you some valuable insights for negotiating a fair wage.
That's incredibly helpful. So how do you answer this question gracefully in the interview?
Be confident and direct, but also show some flexibility. You could say something like, based on my research and experience, I'm targeting a salary in the range of us, and insert your desired range there. However, I'm definitely open to discussing this further based on the specifics of the role and the company's compensation package.
It's about striking that balance between knowing your worth and being open to a conversation.
Remember, the salary question is just one piece of the puzzle. Your main goal is to showcase your skills, your experience, and your enthusiasm for the role. Leaving that lasting impression on the interviewer. We've covered a lot of ground here, from that technical expertise all the way to salary negotiations. But there's one crucial aspect of the mining electrician interview that we can't overlook: safety.
It's like the heartbeat of the mining industry, and it's bound to come up throughout the interview process.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore how to demonstrate your unwavering commitment to safety and convince the interviewer that you're the right person to keep those lights on and everyone safe in the mine.
We're back for the final part of our Mining Electrician Interview Deep Dive. We've covered a lot: technical skills, problem solving, even those tricky salary questions. Now it's time to talk about, I think, the most important part: safety. It's not just a priority in mining, it's the foundation of everything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. In this role, safety isn't just knowing the rules. It's about living and breathing that safety-first mindset every single day.
So how do we convince those interviewers that we're not just, talking the talk, we're walking that safety walk?
Well, it's got to go beyond those generic safety is important statements. They want to see specific examples, your knowledge of those industry standards, and that proactive approach to identifying hazards.
Okay, let's say they ask, what steps would you take if you noticed a colleague working unsafely in the mine? What's the best way to approach a question like that?
This is where you can really showcase that leadership and your understanding of how one unsafe action can have those ripple effects. So, first, you address the situation immediately. Don't hesitate. Explain the risks to your colleague. Calmly but firmly, of course.
What if they're, resistant to your advice, though? Sometimes people get defensive about safety stuff, especially if they feel like they're being criticized.
Right, and that's where those communication skills really come in. You emphasize that you're looking out for their well-being, not trying to get them in trouble or anything. And if the situation calls for it, you might need to escalate it to a supervisor.
This is where knowing those specific safety protocols is key. You can say something like, hey, remember our lockout tagout procedures? We need to follow those every single time.
Exactly. Citing those protocols shows you're not just making stuff up, you're adhering to those established standards that are designed to protect everyone.
The career guide mentions certifications like first aid and confined space entry training as valuable assets.
Oh, for sure. Those show that you've gone above and beyond the basic requirements, demonstrating that dedication to safety. And never underestimate those ongoing safety trainings and staying updated on those regulations. Because the mining industry is constantly evolving, and so are those safety practices.
Yeah, it's a continuous learning journey, especially when it comes to protecting yourself and your colleagues. Now, what about those proactive safety measures? What if they ask something like, how would you identify potential electrical hazards in a mining environment?
This is where your knowledge of mining operations and those electrical systems really comes into play. You start with a thorough inspection of all the equipment, the wiring, look for any signs of wear and tear, any damage, corrosion, really anything that could be a risk. Pay close attention to those high voltage areas and any equipment that's operating in those harsh conditions.
Well, what about those hidden hazards? The ones you can't just, spot with a visual inspection.
That's where those analytical skills become super important. You need to consider the electrical load, the environmental factors like dust, moisture, the potential for ground faults. You got to think critically about that whole system and its vulnerabilities.
So it's combining that practical knowledge with the big picture thinking.
Exactly. And don't forget that communication piece. Talk to other workers, supervisors, engineers to gather more information about those potential hazards. The more eyes and ears you have, the safer that mine's going to be.
And this is where, again, RoleCatcher's AI can be a huge help.
You can practice these safety-related questions with the AI, and it'll assess not just the content of your answers, but also your tone, your confidence level. You want to project knowledge and that assertiveness, not hesitation or uncertainty.
Confidence inspires trust, especially when it comes to safety. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are those key takeaways for our listeners who are prepping for their mining electrician interviews?
Well, safety is king in the mining industry, and those interviewers want to see that you get that at your core. So showcase your knowledge of those safety protocols, your ability to identify and mitigate those hazards, and your commitment to creating that safety-first culture.
And as you continue your prep, here's something to think about. What emerging safety technologies are you most interested in? And how do you see them shaping the future of mining? Keep that curiosity alive. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe out there.